There's no drive-in video for this episode, as it was the same day as day 3 of the main event, and I was focusing on that at the time. So I'll go through the format, the meta, and my army via voiceover here instead. The format is 500 points, 24 figures, Renegade points, which is that set of 10 point changes Renegade made when they took over the game. So, how do those 10 point changes affect the meta? Broadly, armies that included 2 of those units get hit pretty hard, while armies that included 3 of those units just get brutalized. 10th Reg may have been hurt the most, as they went up by 20 points, and Raylan went up by 45 points. 10th X4 plus Raylan is now 505 points, which means that they're basically unrunnable for this event. That alone has a massive effect on the meta, as bonding melee goes up a lot in value, knowing that they won't have to face the normal hard counter in 10th Regiment. The point total also isn't amazing for Knights, as Gilbert plus 4x Knights is 440, leaving an awkward 60 points left over. In Classic points, you'd fill that out with Mara Warriors and Isamu, but Mara Warriors are now 105 points, so Knights lose their best filler here. Nilfheim is somewhat runnable, but the best version of that build is probably Nilf with Raylan and 2x Screen Scale Warriors with Isamu, which just isn't that many bodies and is entirely reliant on Nilfheim surviving for a long time. There's a few variants of Glad Blast that are available, with probably the best being 3 Glads, 2 Blast with Raylan and Isamu. So what does that leave? Well, I decided to run Heavy Gruts for this event, which, if you know me, is no surprise. The army is Heavies X4, Grimnak, Narak, and the filler unit formerly known as 3D printed Isamu. Heavies are a top-tier army to begin with, and they weren't hit particularly hard by the point increases, with just Grimnak going up by 40 points. And their standard worst matchup, 10th Regiment, is now not really viable. Admittedly, the Glad Blast matchup is not a good one, but pretty much the rest of the meta should be a reasonably good matchup for Heavies. Heavies are also an excellent army for reducing in-game variance, as you can often play to protect Grimnak while getting 1 key chomp per turn. And on top of all that, I just like Heavies a lot anyways, so I decided to roll with them. Let's see how they did. In round 1, I get matched up against Mega Silver, who is running 10th Regiment X3, Zelrig, and Isamu. While 10th are normally a pretty good counter to Heavies, not having Raylan to back them up, and only having 12 of them, is a pretty big drop-off, and Heavies are going to be favored into that. Zelrig is a potential issue, though, as Heavies like to clump up around their heroes, and they can't do that while Zelrig is on the map. I'd expect Mega Silver to always open Zelrig here, so I'll have to spread out my Heavies as quickly as possible, with the goal of advancing slower than I'd like to, but only losing 1 heavy per turn, until I catch Zelrig. Order markers for my army are easy this time, so I won't spend much time discussing them this event. I lose the round 1 initiative, which would have been terrible if Zelrig could have hit me on his order marker 1, but thankfully he can't, so it's not as bad. Zelrig moves out to a central position that'll threaten the whole board on the next order marker. Over to me, and I decided to develop Narak on my first order marker, moving him up to snow height. This move serves 2 main goals. 1, protecting the forward Heavies by giving them an extra defense against Zelrig's special attack, and 2, to protect Narak, as snow gives him an extra defense. Heavies can't stand next to Grimnak for now anyways, and he can't chomp Zelrig, so he's a lot less useful in this opening. I then develop Heavies spread out within Narak's aura, but unfortunately I can't completely Z-bomb proof my start zone yet, so Zelrig is going to get a good shot off here. Over to Zelrig, who flies in and gets the special attack off on 3 Heavies, killing all 3 of them. I bring up Grimnak now, as Narak doesn't really want to move again here, and I develop 3 new Heavies while engaging Zelrig with another forward one. Engaging Zelrig forces him to take an Elie, if he wants to hit anything but that one heavy. I roll an impressive 3 out of 3 skulls, but Zelrig blocks it like a champ. Back to Zelrig's order marker 3, and after counting out, I think, all possible moves, Zelrig takes the Elie, which does hit, and flies back a few spaces and targets Nerak, which also hits Grimnak, but fails to wound either. I develop Grimnak again, engaging Zelrig with 1 heavy and developing 3 others. At this point, I'm now sufficiently spread out that Zelrig won't be able to hit more than 1 figure per turn. I hit Zelrig with 1 attack, but do no wounds. Going into round 2, I see 2 order markers each on Zelrig and 10th, so the 1 is on Zelrig, the 3 is on 10th, and we don't know where the 2 is yet. I win initiative and develop Nerak up the middle to where he can cover heavies engaging Zelrig, and then develop 2 other heavies, engage Zelrig with a second heavy, and attack him twice, doing 2 more wounds. Zelrig ends up taking 2 Elies, with 1 going through, to fly and hit Grimnak from height, but I get lucky and block the 5v5. I think Zelrig taking those Elies is a sign that the order marker 2 is probably on 10th, so I take the Elie with Grimnak to get closer to 10th, but it misses. I then triple engage Zelrig and retreat 1 forward heavy out of 10th weight then fire range and kill Zelrig. Order marker 2 is indeed on 10th, who move up 4, but do no wounds. It's my order marker 3 now, and I have to be cognizant of the potential initiative switch that Mega Silver could get here, as the double weight then fire into my heroes could devastate them. To avoid that, I end up leaving both heroes in place on height, and develop 3 heavies, as they were so spread out because of Zelrig, and engage the 10th with 1 guy, who is in Nerak's aura, to limit their weight then fire shots on my heroes, but I miss my 1 attack. 10th elect to move this turn, setting up for where they could get a weight then fire shot into Grimnak on order marker 1 if they get the switch. They kill that 1 straggler heavy, and then decide to target heavies from there on out, getting 1 more kill. I win the round 3 initiative, denying the weight then fire switch, and it's finally time for Grimnak to go in a chompin'. He chomps the 10th that will give a heavy Grimnak boosted height, and misses the other attack, and heavies then come in, 2 moving next to Grimnak to get high percentage attacks, 1 engaging the 10th on height to make it harder for them to weight then fire from height onto Grimnak, and develop another up the middle towards Grimnak. I miss that far attack, but get kills on both of the better attacks. Over to 10th, who have a bit of a decision, as if they weight then fire, then I'll have height on a few of them on the next turn, but if they move, then their attacks this turn get way worse. Mega Silver decides to take the weight then fire shots, targeting Grimnak, and takes 4x 3v6 on him, doing 2 wounds. I think Mega should have taken that first shot into the heavy that's tying up the 2/10th on height though, as the upside of when it goes through and getting those 2x 4v5s on Grimnak instead is just so much better. Back to me, and Grimnak moves into the start zone, chomping 1/10th and getting another kill off the 2v3. I then engage all of the 10th that are in weight then fire range of Grimnak with the heavies, and end up developing 1 heavy from the back instead of taking that 4th attack, as I felt that if I didn't, it would make it too correct for Mega to try and kill all my forward heavies, which would have left Grimnak stranded, and take 3 attacks, killing 2/10th. 10th elect to weight then fire again, but have to hit heavies first this time, and somehow miss all 4 of their attacks. Grimnak chomps another, positioning to where he can boost a heavy into Marku as well as the last 10th in the start zone, and I engage the last unengaged 10th with a heavy, and develop another heavy, getting 3 attacks in again, this time getting all 3 kills. The last 10th regiment shoots the engaged heavy, but misses it. Mega Silver ended up conceding at this point, and I win the opener in this event. Moving on to round 2, where I'm facing Ela, apologies if I'm pronouncing that wrong, who has massed Mezzos with Airborne Elite. Well, that is a lot of exoskeletons to get through. The good news is that Grimnak can chomp one per turn once he gets in there, but that's still 12 turns worth of chomping, and if Grimnak dies before that, it's going to be very hard to finish off the remainder of the mesos. If the airborne drop early, I'm likely toasted in this one, as they can target Grimnak, and if they're able to trade for him, set up a great spot for mesos after that. But there's nothing I can really do to prevent that though, at least in round 1, so I just have to live with it and hope that it doesn't happen. It's worth noting the glyphs here. We have Loden on the near side, that isn't very relevant, but the far side glyph is Disengage, which will become very important for the mesos mid-game. Thankfully, the airborne fail their round 1 drop, and I lose initiative, which is also good for me, and we see a few mesos moving up. I move up Grimnak, and while he can get shot here, he'll be able to chomp whoever shoots him on the following turn, and I surround him with heavies, all of whom are still in Narak's aura. Ela ends up developing 2 different mesos instead, though. I then move up Narak to Snow Height, where he'll be able to cover Grimnak's next move, and then move up 4 new heavies. Unlike last round, I'm incentivized to slow roll my heavies a lot more this time, though I do have to worry about being able to contest a potential round 2 airborne drop. A developed meso now takes max height, and another one develops out of the start zone. And I'm not sure if the meso targeted Narak or a heavy here, as they both would have had 4 defense, but either way, I block it. I now have an easy decision to move Grimnak to chomp that 1 meso, which I do, and then move up 2 heavies from the start zone and push 2 developed ones further forward. The goal here was to be able to threaten airborne landing spots such that if they drop, but I win initiative, I could kill 2 to 3 of them in that situation if they chose to drop very aggressively on height instead of safely in their start zone. And everything stays in Narak's aura for now. Airborne failed to drop again, and I win the round 2 initiative. Grimnak moves up and chomps again while staying in Narak's aura, and I then push forward 2 heavies up to Grimnak, and then develop 2 more out of my start zone. My goal here with heavies is to keep up some pressure on the front line while also slowly developing the whole army out of the start zone, which can be a tough pair to balance whenever the opponent has ranged pieces. A meso takes max height in the center, and another takes the disengage glyph. I'm not sure who the first meso attacks, though I do block it, and then the other hits Grimnak from height with a 4v5 and deals 2 wounds, which is quite massive, as I now have to be way more careful with Grimnak. I don't know if I love this next move in hindsight. I know what I was thinking, that if I chomp the meso on the glyph and engage the other forward mesos, then they won't be able to get any shots on Grimnak next turn. The downside, though, is that it takes Grimnak way out of position to do so, which is why I'm thinking that I maybe should have just sent Grimnak to the center instead and chomped that meso. I may have overreacted a bit in-game to those 2 wounds that Grimnak just took. Though this is still a fine move, so I don't know, it's close. I then use 3 forward heavies to tie up the mesos that could hit Grimnak, and develop 1 more out of the start zone. 2 of the 3 attacks go through, killing 1 meso in the start zone and burning an exoskeleton. Mesos stay where they are and kill 2 heavies. I now realize that I made a clear mistake last turn with my heavy placement, as I left a heavy in the way, blocking Grimnak's ability to reach the center meso to chomp him. Pretty big mistake. And I'm unable to chomp anything this turn, so Grimnak just takes max height, which isn't terrible going into a potential initiative switch that could involve the airborne anyways. And I develop 3 heavies and get 1 attack in, which misses. The meso comes off max height, which is a really sharp play by Ela, as it means that Grimnak won't be able to engage him on the following turn, and mesos then get both kills on heavies. Airborne continue to be afraid of heights, and I lose initiative this time. A meso takes the disengage glyph again, and another meso develops out of the start zone. The meso on the glyph takes the 3v6 at Grimnak, which I think is smart, as their win condition is killing Grimnak before he chomps too many, and gets very lucky and deals 2 more wounds with a 3 out of 3 into a 1 out of 6. Ouch. Grimnack has only taken a few shots at this point, but they've managed to deal 4 wounds to him so far. The only mezzo I can chomp is the one on disengage, so Grimnack goes back there, extra far back this time, to avoid getting attacked on the following turn. This time I definitely like this move, as my win con now involves Grimnack getting chomps on my order marker 3, then hopefully an initiative switch into another chomp, and I won't be able to get a chomp on my order marker 2 no matter what, unless a mezzo moves somewhere quite foolish. I triple engage that central mezzo, and develop 1 heavy out of the start zone, hoping to either get Ela to take him off the first attack, or burn a couple of extra exos. The first attack does go through, and Ela elects to kill the mezzo there. Worth noting that it's important here that I took the heighted attack first, as I want the first attack to be the most likely to go through, to present this decision point to my opponent as frequently as possible. Mezzos move up a bit and shoot 2 heavies, but I block both this time. I end up moving Grimnack back up the middle, and engage the forward 2 mezzos with heavies, while developing another, and send the 4th to block a mezzo from the start zone from being able to move up and shoot Grimnack. One of my attacks goes through, burning an exoskeleton. I was trying to adjust the camera to where you could see the mezzo's card, but I absolutely failed. One mezzo takes an LEA to try and get height on Grimnack, which I think was absolutely the right move, but the LEA hits and I avoid disaster. To be honest, I think there's a very good argument to take another LEA with the other forward one too, but Ela just ends up moving one in the start zone instead and kills a heavy with it. The mezzos did a good job at staying outside of chomp range, so Grimnack moves closer onto height and still in Narak's aura, and I move up 3 heavies from the back while engaging the forwardmost mezzo with another heavy, which serves 2 purposes. It makes it harder for that mezzo to take the LEAs, and it also gets more heavies developed to that side of the map in case airborne drop. I miss the attack up into the mezzo. Airborne finally get their butts out of the airplane and drop 1 on height near Grimnack, while the other 3 drop into the far side of the start zone. I think Ela had 2 order markers on each card here, but I'm not certain. I win initiative though, and I end up sending Grimnack into the start zone to chomp a mezzo. My thinking here was that I needed Grimnack to kill mezzos, and I could engage and get 3v2s on 3 of the 4 airborne here. There's definitely an argument that Grimnack should have retreated instead, though, and chomped that airborne on height. I end up missing all 4 3v2s into airborne, which is pretty brutal. That's a 2% outcome, as I'm 98% to kill at least 1 airborne there. Oof. The airborne on height takes an LEA, which makes sense, as killing Grimnack is still the win condition for Ela, and I miss this one. Another airborne takes an LEA, but I hit that one. Airborne then kill 2 heavies and Grimnack. Narak moves up and kills an airborne, and heavies attack a bunch of stuff, but I'm unsure if I burned any exos here or not. Ela's order marker 2 is on mezzos, who kill 1 heavy. I decided to leave Narak where he was this turn, and wait to move him until the following turn, where he could engage a mezzo on snow after I moved the heavies off that spot, and heavies attack, killing 1 mezzo. I don't think I burned any exos on this turn, but I'm not sure. Mezzos then move up and take 2 shots up into Narak, doing 1 wound. I lose the next initiative, and mezzos take 2 more shots into Narak, but he blocks both. I actually end up moving Narak into the airborne though, not the mezzo on snow. Not sure if I like that or not in hindsight. I think that I was thinking I could engage all of the mezzos and then prevent them from attacking Narak well, and that I needed to kill airborne for partial card scoring purposes, but I feel like Narak should have gone to the snow and let a heavy take the attack on the airborne. Narak misses the airborne, though, and heavies engage all of the mezzos and kill 1 airborne, but I'm not sure if I burned any Exos here or not. 2 Mesos rotate to engage Nerak, but miss him. Nerak pivots to Snow Height and takes an Exo. I bring up 1 heavy from the back and get 3 attacks in, finally getting the last airborne, and I'm unsure how many Exos. The camera took a bit of a tumble here, and it looks like I only extended it back 2/3 of the way up, so I'm missing part of the map now. We're doing some PCS math here, as last round has been called at this point. I asked a judge how they handled Mesos for PCS purposes, and we were told that Exos do not count. Here's the current game state then, but I had to double count Mesos in the tool in order to get the points right. Ela targets heavies and kills both, which he needed, as killing just one would have meant that I win by 0.83 points. But killing both gives Ela the win on PCS with this final game state instead. I have another turn, but I can't burn through all of the Exos, so I can't affect the PCS, so I concede here. GG's. Super close one here, and I fall to 1-1. Moving on to round 3, and I'm facing a Romans build with Marcus and Miberxa, backed up by Raylan. We have Wanik on the left side with Loden on the right side. Loden doesn't matter much, so I care far more about the Wanik side. This is also a pretty good matchup for me, as Grimnak can chomp through those 6 defense Romans, and it's difficult for the Romans to kill Nerak early. I see 2 order markers on Romans and 2 on Raylan, which seems like an incorrect distribution, as there's never 2 real order markers on Raylan, so it seems better to bluff at having none on Raylan as opposed to having a second one on Raylan. I lose initiative, and Raylan flies to the far side behind the ruin. This caught me by surprise, as I feel like this battle should be happening on the Wanik side of the map. I bond with Nerak and develop in the opposite direction, but quite slowly, as this is a matchup where I do want to super slow roll my army. I make a bit of a mistake here though, as I don't leave a good spot for Grimnak to move into next turn. Miberxa takes that nice height perch on the far side, and Romans develop that direction. While it's a nice spot for Miberxa, I can develop safely towards Wanik while staying outside of Miberxa's range from there, so it's not that worrying to me. I scoot Grimnak up 1 spot, as that's as far as he can get, and mostly slow roll heavies, but I do take Wanik now, as nothing can threaten it on his order marker 3, so I can take it now for free. Marcus develops towards the far pod, as do most of the Romans, but one develops towards Wanik on its own. I bonded with Nerak again here, getting him up to that ice spot where he can cover most of the Wanik side of the middle and develop more heavies up. 9 total heavies have moved now, meaning that 3 have double moved. That's a bit more than is ideal, but the presence of lava is complicating my development a little bit here. I lose round 2 initiative, which is definitely good for me, and I see Marcus develop a bit more with some Romans on that side, and the 1 Roman near Wanik takes height on the glyph, but I block the 4v4. I develop Grimnak up onto level 2 now, still quite cautiously, and move 4 forward heavies, getting 2 next to the Roman. Since he was the only Roman near me, I really wanted to kill him this turn, and then develop more for my start zone on the following turn, and I do get that Roman. The heroes all stay where they are this time, as more Romans develop towards the pod. But he has several Romans on lava height now that'll have to move next turn. I move Grimnak up towards the middle, where he can support heavies on that central height, and then fill in some of that height with heavies while developing 1 out of the start zone. Again, I'd rather develop more from the start zone, but I need to cover that height so Romans can't get height on Grimnak, though it does place a heavy in Miberxa range. This is the position I was hoping to reach, but a few of them are outside of Nerak's aura, which means that I did this a bit sloppily. MBS takes the shot, but misses it, and Romans then come in, which I'm happy to see, as I have a potential initiative switch to kill them all off, and I have height, and Romans take Loden. Romans roll in an odd order that leaves them without the third attack, but they do get 2 kills. I elected to bypass Grimnack moving forward and chomping here in favor of developing Narak up to cover everything better, as heavies still have high quality attacks, and I really wanted Narak to cover all the heavies in this engagement. I end up moving 3 heavies into attack and develop 1 out of the start zone, but I miss all 3 attacks. Marcus misses lava, and Wanik goes through, with him taking it on a Roman, which seems incorrect, as I think Wanik should be going all on Raylan here, as I have no way to kill her until after I get through most of the Romans. While the dice weren't great for me in this initial exchange, the battle is currently happening outside Raylan's aura, where I control height and Wanik, all of which is fantastic for me. I lose round 3 initiative though, and after some thought, Miburxa hits the stair on the central heavy and kills it. A Roman then fills that gap, and another from the start zone joins the line, with another one engaging Narak from the backside. Narak takes 1 wound, a heavy dies, and then a Roman kills the heavy on max height, which I think is a mistake, as it passes up a 4v5 on Grimnack to take the 3v6 on a heavy, but it works out, and the last attack misses. Grimnack chomps the engaged Roman, and I have to focus on killing these Romans over developing more heavies, so I fill in the gaps and kill 2 Romans in the line, but not the one next to Narak. Miburxa misses the stair this time, but I whiff the 5 defense roll, and the heavy dies anyways. 2 Romans then develop back towards the pod, and the other 2 get their attacks in, with Narak blocking a 2 out of 3, and either a heavy or Grimnack, I'm not sure which, blocking with a 3 out of 5. Grimnack chomps again, and I finally have a good opportunity to move undeveloped heavies, with me filling in the 1 spot and taking the 1 attack near Narak, and then developing 2 new ones out of the start zone, and I do kill that back Roman. Miburxa hits another stair and takes out a heavy, and Romans reposition, but stay in their pod, which is sensible given that I have the chance for an initiative switch here. I reposition Narak a bit closer to their pod, but still protected, and take the opportunity to develop heavies, finally getting all of them out of my start zone. Marcus misses lava again, but this time he puts the Wanik wound on Marcus. I win round 4 initiative, which I definitely didn't want, but I decide to come in anyways, moving Grimnack over to the lava height and supporting a heavy that's attacking Marcus, and move 3 more heavies up behind Grimnack, but Marcus blocks the attack. Miburxa attacks Grimnack here and does 1 wound. Romans then come in and do 2 wounds to Grimnack off of 3 attacks and miss the 1 attack at the heavy. Grimnack chomps the even ground Roman and attacks down, but misses. Heavies then swarm those Romans from height, killing all 3 of them. Miburxa misses both the stair and the attack this time, and fresh Romans move in to replace their fallen comrades, but they can't get to Grimnack this time, and have to settle for mostly attacking up into my heavies, getting just 1 kill. It's my order marker 3 now, so lava is going to matter, but I don't think it's worth putting Grimnack on low ground because Romans can still get height on him, so he stays on lava, chomping even and attacking down, and getting both kills this time. Heavies all hop off lava, killing 2 Romans. Grimnack misses the lava roll, thankfully, but Marcus takes it, and the Wanik wound goes on Miburxa, which I also don't fully understand, as all these rounds in and Raylan still hasn't taken any of the Wanik wounds. It was getting a bit dicey a round ago, but I've jumped back out into a pretty significant lead now, and my opponent's order markers are finally hard, and I see 2 each on Marcus and Miburxa. I win initiative though, and bring in Narak onto snow that covers the heavies, who engage the heroes and attack, doing 2 wounds to Marcus. His order marker 1 is on Miburxa, who misses his attack on a heavy. Grimnack then moves in to boost heavies, and manages the Luckbox chomp on Raylan. Heavies then kill both Marcus and Mibrixa, ending this one. The final board state here is more reflective of how I think this matchup should go than the one that we had 2 rounds earlier, where Romans were trading fairly well with heavies outside of Raylan's aura. But I was able to withstand some negative variance during that particular skirmish and take this one down, moving on to 2-1. Moving on to round 4, and I'm facing a mixed soldier build with Marcus, 2x 10th Reg, and 2x Warforged. That army is a bit under on points because, if I remember right, Brad was planning on running it with 3x 10th Reg, but had forgotten that they went up in points, and so had to drop something last minute to get under the point total. There is a bit of matchup roulette here into my army, where I want to get Grimnack fighting into Warforged, as Chomp bypasses their auto defense, and they can't switch him. And I want to avoid Grimnack taking a Wait Then Fire volley from Marcus back to 10th, as that can kill him quite quickly. I'm fine trading heavies into that 10th pod, as without Raylan, we'll trade fairly evenly there, and I want to use heavies to prevent 10th from getting shots into Grimnack. The biggest advantage I have here, though, is that my order markers will be easy throughout, while Brad's order markers will be hard as soon as 2 to 3 members of either squad die, and where the order markers are placed can also tell me a lot about which units will be activated and when. This is the same map as last round, so my development strategy will look pretty similar, and this battle should also happen around Wannock. For round 1, I see 3 order markers on Warforged with 1 on Marcus, and I win initiative. I think Marcus will have a real order marker here most of the time, because he needs to develop to support 10th Regiment attacks, and a bluff on the 10th is more effective than a bluff on Marcus would be. I bring Narak over in the same way as before, and develop 4 heavies around him. Notice this time that I left room for Grimnack to develop further on my next order marker. Learn from your mistakes. I then see Marcus move up. Back to me, and I need to develop here as much as I can without being in Warforged range. I move Grimnack as far forward as he can get, and develop 2 heavies forward and 2 from right to left. Because this start zone is so long, I have to spend some movements getting the far away stuff over to the correct side of the map. Warforged then develop up the middle to where 2 of them could reach me on the next turn. I back Grimnack up a bit here, because I don't want him next to height across a potential initiative switch. This also keeps him out of 10th Reg range if Brad gets the switch and has order marker 1 on 10th. I also back up my heavies to where 1 Warforged now won't be able to have a target next turn. Kind of a lame turn here in terms of me retreating, but when your opponent doesn't have ranged units meaningfully developed, and you might get initiative switched into, it's often right to back up and deny them the upside of coming in for that initiative switch. Warforged then develop up the middle while staying out of Grimnack's chomp range. Going into round 2, I see 3 order markers on 10th with 1 on Warforged, and this time I lose initiative, which is actually good as I had already proofed my start zone to avoid damage from the switch, and now I can slow roll for the first 2 order markers a bit and then come in hoping for my own switch. The order marker 1 is on 10th, who surround Marcus with 3 of them and develop a 4th up the middle. They get 2 attacks in, killing 1 heavy. I elect to bring Grimnack into the danger zone here, and I don't know if I like this in hindsight. I'm giving Brad a win condition here if 10th kill Grimnack next turn. They probably won't wait then fire, they'd probably move, as it gets them height, and then a 4th one can catch up, but that's still 3x 4v5 and 1x 3v5 into Grimnack. If he survives, then I'll catch the pod, but this is scary watching it back. Admittedly, I'm not entirely sure what I would have done otherwise, because if I don't do this, 10th can probably kill Narak easily, which is also rough. However, the order marker 2 is on Warforged, and present me breathes a sigh of relief. I think this order marker is a mistake, as it's going to be tough to get value out of Warforged after this with no more order markers this round, as I'll kill those 3 before the next round, which will leave just 1 squad with 1 dude underdeveloped, and it limited 10th Marcus Wait Then Fire output for this round as well. Warforged end up coming in as a line that blocks Grimnack from getting to 10th, and kill one heavy and put one wound on Grimnack. Grimnack is pretty stuck now, and I end up scooting him forward, which brings him within another 10th's weight than fire range, but does give me the best heavy attacks, and I chomp the guy on height. I send the only heavy that can reach 10th into them to tie them up, and roll up 3 heavies to hit the Warforged, but get no kills. This 10th turn is now their best opportunity to win the game, as if they don't get Grimnack here, I'm going to roll through this pod across the potential initiative switch. They do elect to wait then fire, and manage to get Grimnack down to 1 life, but a 1 life Grimnack can chomp just as good as a 5 life Grimnack, and they also kill the forward heavy. Grimnack chomps another Warforged, and heavies engage 2 of the 10th in the only non-lava spots where I can, and I get 1 attack on Warforged and 2 on 10th, killing 1 of the 10th. Brad then has lava on 3 figures, and the Warforged and 1 of the 2 10th die a fiery death. Grimnack is down to 1 life, but I've also killed about half of each squad, which is now going to make Brad's order markers very hard. I think the 1 should always be on 10th here, hoping to finish off Grimnack if they win initiative, as that's probably the only remaining win condition. I end up seeing 3 order markers on 10th with 1 on Warforged, and I lose initiative, and the 1 is indeed on 10th. The 1 developed 10th rotates to height and engages Grimnack, with another 10th joining Marcus and 2 others engaging the heavies in the middle. I think it would have been better to bring 3 10th up next to Marcus though, where Brad would have gotten more shots into Grimnack. Grimnack does end up blocking that 1 attack, and I end up losing 1 forward heavy across the other 3 attacks, but I'm happy to trade heavies for Grimnack surviving longer here. I can't really take the LEA with a 1 life Grimnack, so he stays and chomps the 10th. I use forward heavies to re-engage 10th Reg, doing everything I can to limit shots on Big Chompy, and I get 1 10th kill. The order marker 2 is on 10th, which makes sense, and 10th wait then fire, which seems right here, as it's their best chance to kill Grimnack. They do get the first kill on a heavy, which opens up 2 shots onto Grimnack, and they do get him across those 2. Now it's Narak time, who comes in and takes height on Marcus, dealing 1 wound. I then use 3 forward heavies to claim height and engage the 10th, and develop 1 back from the start zone, and get all 3 kills this time. The order marker 3 is on Warforged, with 2 of them left, who come in here and do get both kills on heavies. This is my order marker 3, so I have to be very lava aware here. So I pivot Narak over to the central height and attack a 10th from height, but miss it. Heavies then take Wannick and engage the 2 Warforged with another developing up from the start zone, and I get 1 of the Warforged kills, leaving 1 Warforged, 2 10th, Marcus, and Isamu. Brad then takes the Wannick wound on the last Warforged. This time I see 3 order markers on Marcus with 1 on the 10th, and I win initiative. Narak comes back over to claim height on Marcus and does 1 wound, and heavies engage both 10th and Marcus, killing 1 10th. The order marker 1 is on Marcus though, and he kills a heavy. Narak puts another wound on Marcus, and I bring the heavy from the start zone back to attack Marcus. It's worth noting that if this map didn't have Wannick, this would be a mistake, as then I should be attacking Isamu every turn from now on. But given this map does have Wannick, my better play is to try and kill everything but Isamu, and then win on Wannick. Heavies miss Marcus, but do kill the last 10th. Marcus misses his attack on a heavy this time. As it's my order marker 3, I take Narak off lava and back to the central height, where neither Marcus nor Isamu can reach him, and develop 2 heavies up and hit Marcus twice, finishing him off and burning the order marker 3. Wannick then kills Isamu, ending this one, and I move on to 3-1 this event. 3 games in a row on the same map. You know, it would be nice if someone could make pairing software that took map rematch avoidance into account for pairings. Anyways, this time I'm facing Heroscape, who has an Ashigaru spam army with Kato and then 3 of each squad. I actually think this is not a great matchup for me, in theory, as Harks can use Wait Then Fire to kill Grimnak fairly effectively, and chomping a Yari each turn before that happens just isn't worth as much as chomping a more expensive unit. And it's one of the few armies in the field that's actually out-activating me, getting 8 attacks per turn at its height. As with the last 2 games, this battle should happen around Wanek, and so I set up for that side of it. I win initiative, which is a bit unfortunate, and develop Grimnak and 4 heavies. For this matchup, I need to slow roll as much as I can until dice start getting rolled and I have to charge more aggressively. Roguescaper then develops 4 Harks up onto Lava and 4 Yari slightly up the middle. This is where the filler unit formerly known as 3D Printed Isamu got his name, as I got a shoulder tap here informing me that I needed to switch him out, which I of course complied with. At this point, I decided to mostly turtle in round 1, as I didn't want to give Ashigaru the init switch potential for 16 attacks back to back, and develop Nerak to the right side, but all the way in the back, where he'll be able to hop up on the middle height in round 2, but is safe for now. I developed heavies up near Grimnak, mostly as a threat to try to keep the Harks back, or at least to be able to kill them if they come forward to shoot Grimnak. This time, Yari develop up the lava side, and Harks develop up the middle onto snow, but don't get any attacks yet. I'm quite happy not to see the 4x 3v5 onto Grimnak from them here, though. Broadly, I think Roguescaper should be using about 1 squad of Harks to ping me and draw me into the main pod before I've had the chance to slow roll like I want to. I then pivot Nerak up slightly and fill in the level 1 pod with heavies, backing a few up and avoiding lava for now. Yari move up, including taking Wanek, and Harks develop in the start zone, leaving 3 of them on lava. I reminded Roguescaper about that before his turn was done, as I didn't want the lava rolls to be a gotcha moment, but he said he was fine with that, and wanted to prioritize development of other units. I think that's incorrect here, but if it's intentional, I'm happy to watch them burn, which 2 of them do. Generally, don't leave your squaddies to die on lava. Those Harks probably should have moved forward onto ice and hit Grimnak from height, where, if they'd gotten the switch, they'd have had a Wait Then Fire turn from height onto him, and could have potentially killed him across that switch. I then take the Wanek wound on my 100% official Isamu, who couldn't even last 1 round. What a wimp. I win round 2 initiative, and it's time to move up, as I can't turtle forever. Eventually those Harks will start actually shooting at me. I move Nerak onto the plateau, planning to then use Grimnak for the next 2 order markers, and send heavies forward, getting 1 Yari kill. Harks take a Wait Then Fire turn first, but miss all their shots. Yari come in now, and Nerak takes 2 wounds from the first Yari, which is pretty rough, but the heavy blocks the next 2. Grimnak was going to take the heavy's place, but now he can't because the heavy lived, so Grimnak goes around the outside and chomps a Yari. Heavies push forward and kill 1 Hark and 2 Yaris. Yaris develop up the middle, but nothing is in range for them yet. Harks then take a Wait Then Fire turn into Grimnak, but he matches skulls with shields perfectly and takes no wounds. Grimnak takes the center height, which is leaving Nerak's aura, but it gives him an attack, but the Yari actually blocks it. I move heavies forward pretty aggressively, setting up a screen for Nerak to try to keep him alive, and I get 3 kills here. Yaris swarm in, but miss the 2 attacks they have, and Harks Wait Then Fire again into Grimnak, but he keeps rolling like a champ, and takes no wounds. Nerak then survives the lava roll. I win the next initiative, which is pretty massive, and Grimnak takes out 2 more Yaris. Heavies swarm in and engage as many Harks as possible, with another one developing up next to Grimnak, and I get 1 kill across the 3 attacks. The last Yari come in and kill 2 heavies, and Harks Wait Then Fire again, and Grimnak this time takes 3 long overdue wounds. This time I bring in Nerak to take snow and cover my forward orcs again, and he kills a Yari. Heavies then take a lot of height and get all 4 kills. I'm starting to think that 1 defense isn't enough. Roguescaper uses Harks first this time, and elects to wait then fire, and gets Narak first, but fails to take out Grimnak second. The last Yari then runs in, but doesn't get a kill. Grimnak comes in further and gets 2 more Ashigaru, and heavies finally reach the start zone, killing the last Ashigaru and leaving just Kato. This current board state is worth discussing, as I look very heavily overextended, with 10 heavies still in or near my start zone. Obviously, that's not ideal on face, but the way this game played out, I was fairly incentivized to keep using the forward heavies to tie up as much as I could, to limit the wait then fire damage into my heroes. Sometimes heavies can want to play out like this, where you sort of play it as a 2-wave army of sorts, which we will see play out here in the Kato endgame. Kato then kills a heavy. I lose the next initiative, and Kato attacks a heavy but misses it. This is where the 2-wave concept comes in, as Grimnak retreats while the forward heavies engage Kato. My goal here is to trade them for Kato wounds as much as possible, while regrouping around Grimnak with the remaining 10 heavies towards Wanik, which will allow me to get value out of Grimnak for the whole rest of the game, instead of losing him with 10 unsupported heavies left over behind. Kato then kills a heavy. Grimnak stays, and 2 heavies develop up, including taking Wanik, while the 2 near Kato attack him, doing 2 more wounds. Kato kills another heavy. Grimnak stays again, and I develop 3 more heavies from the start zone and take the attack on Kato, which misses, but Wanik does another wound to him. I win initiative and develop up more heavies and take the 1 attack. Kato hits back, but misses. I do the same thing and miss as well. Kato then kills that heavy. I retreated Grimnak here because there's no reason exposing him to Kato, and Kato advances, but I hit the Wanik roll, killing Kato and ending the game. A bit of unnecessary caution for me in this endgame state, but it always serves to maximize your win rate regardless of how far ahead or behind you are in a game. Fun event. Sad I busted out of the main event so early, but glad that I got to play in this one. I always enjoy playing heavies as they're quite versatile, and Chomp and Disengage are just such good powers. Renegade actually ended up prizing this event super well, as at the last minute they broke open a few boxes of new product and prized out the top 10 finishers. Technically, I got second in this one, as there were a couple of 4-1 finishers but no 5-0 player, and I ended up getting a painted set of Tanuki Tricksters and Molten Crustaceans, which was a nice pickup. Not really too much to add on my army itself. It's a classic for a reason, and this event wrapped up the Saturday of Heroscape at GenCon.